I have something I wanted to talk about that's related to gaming because it's a pet peeve of mine, and it's really been I've been noticing it, or I've been thinking about it more lately because of a game I'm playing. So I'm going through Control on PS5 right now, the enhanced version, which I'll talk about later. But Control does something that I really appreciate that a lot of other games don't do, and it drives me nuts. So when you're playing a game and the character is like talking to themselves, I can't stand when a character actually out loud talks to themselves because I mean, real people do that. They'll mutter a couple things, but they won't have whole conversations out loud with themselves.
Uh, I don't agree.
You're saying at home you talk out loud to yourself all day long.
Not all day long.
So what this would be the example.
If you when I'm awake.
If this would be the example, let's say you got some chores to do. Instead of thinking it in your head, you would say in real life out loud, well, I got to go to the supermarket and then I got to change my tires and then I got some laundry to do. So I should go over and get the supermarket stuff done first. You say all that out loud.
Yeah, it's one of the main reasons I like having a dog because I can just blame it on talking to the dog.
Well, then I guess my whole point doesn't make any sense because I'm like, yes, I say a couple things out loud to myself when I'm like frustrated. I'll be like, oh man, I got to do this or something like that. But I won't say every little thing out loud. And I don't like in games when characters do that because I'm like, people don't really speak out loud this much to themselves.
Except for me.
But I guess I'm wrong because the lady in Control, they make a point to not do that. She talks to herself, but they make it very clear that she's speaking to herself in her head. You know, the voice inside your head that you hear all the time, that you mull things over, say things with.
Are you Randy Orton?
I really like in Control, they do that because I just can't stand when characters speak to themselves all the time, not in their head.
Clear that it's in her head.
What?
How do they make it clear that it's in her head?
Well, they zoom in on her face and her lips aren't moving and you hear her voice.
So, not during gameplay, it's like in cutscenes and stuff?
No, it's in gameplay too. You will see very clearly that she is not moving her lips and she is talking to herself.
Yeah, isn't she talking to like something that's like living inside of her head?
Well, she also has that kind of, but she'll just say things to herself. Like when she's talking to the thing in her head, like you'll see that like shiny, like glittery rim around the screen because it's responding. But yeah, other times she's just talking to herself and you can see that her lips aren't moving. But there's plenty of games where the character is talking to themselves and you see their lips moving and nobody else is around. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. People don't do this often, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
What about how you feel? Sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
Go ahead.
RMC, how do you feel about like Uncharted when Nathan Drake, finds something and he's like, all right, Sir Francis, where'd you go to this time? Or, oh, gotta hit that switch over there, mate.
Yeah,
like when they say those, you don't like those?
I don't like it. No, I don't like it.
Do you not like those mainly because you don't want we know this about you. You don't want anyone telling you how to beat the game. You don't like tutorials. You don't want, the hand-holding. So do you see that as a form of hand-holding, or is it something more?
No, I just see it as something that takes me out of the experience because where's your inner monologue? You're not going to... I really don't think you speak out loud that much to yourself. But like I said, maybe I'm wrong.
I talk out loud to myself a lot.
I mean, I'm with you most of the day, Mom Brain, and you don't do that. Every once in a while you'll do it, but you're not having whole conversations with yourself.
No. I don't have whole conversations. It's more like executive functioning kinds of stuff. Like, oh, I have to go get blah, blah, blah. Or it's not like, gee, I wonder what da-da-da-da-da is thinking or doing. It's more like organizational. And wearing masks, I talk to myself like a lot in public now, like at the grocery store. Today I walked into the dollar store and there was like a line from like the cash register, like all the way to the back of the store. And I just went, Oh my. And then I turned around and walked out.
Well, I
But,
mean, like that's like a level of frustration, though, and I can understand voicing that outwardly, but being like I said, like Du was saying, like I gotta go flip this switch over here. Like you're not gonna say that out loud.
I just went to the grocery store. I made a list, and as I was going around getting stuff, I looked at stuff and be like, and I would say out loud, I don't really need that.
yeah, I do that.
Well, yeah, that's fine. Those are little like side quips. I get that.
But when you string enough side quips together, I'm having a complete conversation with myself in the grocery store while people are like walking past me. There's other times when I'll walk out of my house and I'll forget something. I'll be like, oh man, I forgot that. I gotta go back inside, and I'll look and like, oh, my
He's
neighbor's
heading
outside.
towards certain death.
Me talk to myself. I don't know.
Yeah, but like when you're in the supermarket, and your example, I think is good for things that people would say out loud to themselves. But when you're in the supermarket, you wouldn't be like, "Well, I really like oranges, but maybe I'll get some apples today because the apples are on sale." You don't talk for that long, Nikki Hill.
I do. I'll sit there and I'll be like, "Oh, you know what? Well, if I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna return this."
I don't believe you. You don't say that. You don't say that out loud.
I did. I am maybe, I don't know, a few syllables short of talking to myself where like I'm a few dialogues bubbles short of being a crazy person on the subway or something. Like, I'm there.
All right, if you say you do it, well then maybe it's only taking me out of the experience, and people talk more to themselves than I thought they did.
Like, if you were out and I was talking to myself, would that take you out of the experience? If like we were out together and I was talking to myself?
I mean, if there's people you know around you and you're saying stuff, I would imagine you're saying it because you were expecting the rest of us to hear as well.
No, you're just happening to hear what I'm thinking.
So most of the time when you're talking to us, you're really just talking to yourself?
There's a saying for it, Rami. I'm just thinking out loud. So just shut up.
It's a pretty tame video game grudge, or what's the word you were using? I don't know why it's
pet peeve, gripe.
Pet peeve. Thank you. Yeah, it's a pretty tame one because like mine would be like dead bodies that disappear, and it's like, what the heck? That takes you out of the experience. Some guy saying to himself like, oh, maybe I should check over here, or that doesn't take me out as much. But you're kind of right though. It's like, why don't they just save time on animating the mouth and keep the mouth closed and just have the voiceover and he's thinking it? Add
a little reverb to the voice and that's it. Then I get that it's supposed to be in his head.
I think they just forgot to animate her. They didn't have the time to do it. And they didn't. And now you're just singing their praises.
Oh, that is not true because I've sung the praises of the animation in this game. The facial animation is really good. And Nikki Hill, there's a saying for that phrase because people need to explain it because it's weird when it happens. If it was normal, you wouldn't need the phrase to explain it. Be like, what's this crazy guy doing? And you're like, oh, I'm just thinking out loud. That's why you say it, because it's not normal or it's not frequent enough.
I don't think it's not that it's not normal. It's just like saying, you don't need to respond because I'm just talking to myself. Like, I'm not talking to you. I wasn't talking to you.
The other person thinks you are because it's an unusual situation. Everybody talks out loud to themselves. I'm just saying in games, I feel like characters say way too much out loud to themselves. And I really appreciate what they do in Control because I understand she's thinking it in her head and it makes a lot more sense to me. And if I hear somebody like narrating their own adventure, it takes me out of the story because I'm like, oh my God, shut up. Can't you either not say anything or just think this? Why do we need to hear you voice everything? But clearly there's some wiggle room in there. People don't, I guess some people talk more out loud to themselves than others. Thanks so much for checking out this highlight to the Go Nintendo podcast. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, you can check out the description below and subscribe to this channel for more podcast highlights.